Welcome to the Swim Swam podcast. I'm today's host, Coleman Hodges. Joining us today, he's a world champion. He's a Commonwealth Games champion. He's an NCAA champion. And now he is an Olympic silver medalist. Today, we are sitting down with Josh Liendo. Josh, thanks for joining us. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
This episode of the Swim Swam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to hear about your experience in Paris. Right now, you are back in Gainesville training and going to school at the University of Florida. How has that been? How is your, I guess now third year in Gainesville starting out so far?
It's good. A lot. I'd say they're taking a lot. Like they're definitely building into it a lot better. It's not kind of just hitting the ground running. So that's been honestly kind of nice, kind of refreshing to kind of ease into it a little bit, which I've liked. But yeah, it's been good. School's been good. It's good to be back and see the team and everyone. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you this isn't your this is your third year in Florida, being at the university. Is there even more of a sense of just kind of comfort and knowing what to expect now that you're in your third season in Gainesville?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot since I've been here, and yeah, I just say the experience has helped a lot, and I know what to expect. I kind of have feel like I have a pretty good idea of what I want to do and kind of how things work. So yeah.
And then, speaking of experience, this is your second Olympic Games that you competed at. Certainly, you've gone through the process of Canadian trials quite a bit for the Olympics and World Championships. So, I guess going all the way back to Canadian trials for this Paris Olympics, did you feel pretty comfortable going through that process, and how did you feel about the results coming out of that meet?
I felt good. I felt good about the results. We kind of had like a plan in terms of prep, and it would be a little bit different for trials than in the Olympics. But no, I felt that the meet was good. I definitely had, took some steps forward, and I think like all of my events at that meet, which was pretty good and kind of good to see that I improved on some things. And yeah, like overall good meet. I was happy with the way I kind of handle myself through it. So yeah.
Were there specific takeaways you had, or things you can discuss about the improvements that you saw in some of your events at that meet?
Yeah, so I would say mainly the big focus was like freestyle. My freestyle endurance got a little bit better. I swam the two free, the prelim, uh, at that meet just to kind of get a feel of it because it's something that I've been working on and just kind of like freestyle. I knew I needed to kind of change some stuff up in my stroke, so that was just kind of a test there, which I thought was good. I thought the 50 free, I kind of handled it well. The changes that I've made since I've been to Florida kind of came together well there. And then the 100 fly, I've been like steadily improving. So it was good to see those results there.
200 feet, like a Gator staple. It seems like everyone swims the 200 free at Florida.
Yeah.
I'm curious, can you tell me a little bit about, bringing that into the fold of your event stable or your training stable? Was
Mhm.
that your idea? Was that the coach's ideas?
I feel like we almost like always train that type of way to be able to swim the 200, but I feel like just like technique wise and just kind of just the way I'd been practicing, I felt like I'd be able to swim a better 200. So I just kind of gave it a shot at that meet, and obviously the guys that I train with, Kieran, even Bobby, those guys are really good at that kind of swimming. Caleb, really good at that type of work in terms of the 200 pace type stuff. So I mean, yeah, I would always try and race them. Obviously, Jake Mitchell too, race them and kind of get some tips from them on how to swim in and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like it definitely it couldn't hurt my 100 free. It could only help it. So I definitely wanted to kind of add it in and see what I do in that event. And yeah, that's kind of why I did it.
Or do you line up or train in the same group with swimmers like Kieran or Jake very often or at all?
Every now and then, yeah. Right now, beginning of the year, sometimes you get, especially now, sometimes you get kind of the whole guys team kind of training together, and you get everyone kind of doing the same thing before we kind of start breaking off into sprint group, and obviously those guys are more mid to distance. So yeah, but even throughout the year, especially taper, and when we start getting closer to taper, we start racing. I'll be able to race Kieran and Jake more often, but I definitely say it definitely helps to be able to race them because their endurance is a lot better. So it's definitely a challenge to be able to compete against them in practice.
Yeah. For the current moment, as you said, kind of the men's team is sometimes just all together.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you fare in those practice scenarios when you're racing not only the sprint guys or the maybe the shorter distance guys you're used to racing, but when you're going up against any number of guys on the team?
I mean, when you get to the like, if it's a set where the distance guys are doing good, then it's like it. Oh, there you go. That then it could be. I feel like a bit more of a struggle, like for sure against those guys. But I feel like it kind of depends because like some days I'll be having a good practice, and then other days it'll be like I'd be hurting in the sets that they do, or when I kind of swim up to their group, I would say. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it could get like pretty difficult, and sometimes I kind of learn and I'm able to like obviously race against them and kind of challenge them. But I mean, yeah, those guys are good, some of the best in the world. So sometimes it's tough.
Are you someone who considers yourself a sprinter or just an athlete? I mean, do you view yourself as any kind of certain swimmer?
Yeah, I would say like I'm definitely a sprinter. But I feel like I'm like versatile. Like I can do kind of other events. I can do other stuff in the water, but I would think mainly, yeah, just kind of that speed power kind of thing that I feel like that's more me.
Especially at times like this at the beginning of a season
Hmm.
where you're probably doing a little more aerobic work or just kind
Yeah.
of doing work to build a base.
Hmm.
Uh, are you training IM or any medley or just mixing up strokes as well?
Yeah, we train a lot of IM. Like, and I mean, for me, it's like fun because I'm not like an IMer. So, if I beat some of the guys, it's just like, it feels good. But if I don't beat them, it's like, obviously you still want, like, I still try and race them and compete with them. But like my breaststroke sucks. I'll be honest. My breaststroke is not very good. My backstroke is actually not that bad, but yeah, I mean, I do train IM. I always kind of I want to see what I can do whenever we train IM, and I've definitely improved at it a lot more since being here because we do a lot of IM in Florida. And having guys like Caleb, who is really good at IM, matching up against him was definitely made me a lot better. But yeah,
Is do you think you would throw down a 200 IM at a dual meet this season?
maybe mid season. Coaches are talking about maybe the two fly. But
Ooh.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I used to do the two fly when I was younger, and then I kind of stopped when I started getting kind of more muscle on. But I feel like it's probably still throw down a decent two fly. Yeah.
How do you feel like you would, you know, at a dual meet or at a midseason, coaches are like, "All right, Josh, it's two fly time."
Mhm.
How would you approach that race now, in terms of strategy?
I feel like it's different yards. Like I would definitely use underwaters to my advantage, but um the first time I would definitely back half it. I won't go out, but if I start doing it more, I'll kind of play around with strategy and stuff like that. And try and go out and try and it's just energy management, I think, for especially for that event. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be a fun thing. See what we can do there.
I I mean, the 200 fly is my personal favorite event,
Mhm.
and so I love watching different iterations of it, especially as you kind of mentioned, short course versus long course. But it's also so different in the college season because,
Yeah.
especially last year, we saw Ilya and Minikov go two of the
Yeah.
fastest 200 flies ever at a dual meet,
Yeah.
and then at NCAA's, it's the last day of a 3.5 day meet where
Yeah.
it's so emotionally charged that it's like it's such
Mhm.
a different beast in that regard. Um, so it's just fun to watch people swim that event in different arenas throughout the
Yeah,
the
for
course
sure.
of a college season.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, sorry, going back to um, post Canadian trials.
Mhm.
You make the team, you have a successful meet, you get some good bits of knowledge. Do you feel like your preparation heading into Paris went as you had planned, or as you would have wanted it to go?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Didn't really have any hiccups or anything that hindered me, which was pretty good to have. Um, and yeah, I thought training camp went smoothly. Transition to the village was pretty good. Honestly, the easiest because we staged just outside of Paris. We just took a bus to get to the village, so that made it really easy. Um, like not a long travel day at all. So yeah, it went pretty good.
In terms of life in the village. I've talked to a lot of athletes about that.
Mhm.
How do you feel like you adjusted to that? Obviously, I think some of the bus rides got a little bit longer. We
Mhm.
heard things about the food, but I think that's just village food anywhere.
Mhm.
What was your experience like actually being in the village?
Wasn't terrible. I tried like obviously I tried not to like think of things and because a lot of it you just can't change. Olympics is a really big event, and I believe the hosting countries always do their best to kind of get stuff going. But yeah, I feel like the first day there was issues with the buses. But then our team manager, I guess all the team managers from all the countries were kind of asking them to get on it. And then they definitely did a better job. The drive was obviously a little long, and it could be really long if there was issues. But I thankfully didn't have, at least for like racing day, there wasn't a time I heard there was buses that like just took forever. I didn't, thankfully, I didn't have a bus that was that bad on racing day. I think I maybe had one or two before, but nothing went out during the meet when I was racing. Um, but yeah, I feel like the food, if you got back late, maybe it'd just be you'd have to look and try and find protein, kind of what you needed. But yeah, it's just a village scenario. It's never going to be perfect. So I try not to think about that stuff as much and just focus on kind of what I could control.
Yeah, I recently talked to one athlete who was like, just felt like I was in college. It's
Yeah.
like you're in the dorms, you're with your friends, you're eating at the dining
Mhm.
hall. But then in terms of your racing and getting into the meet,
Mhm.
400 free relay, do you feel like it's easier to get into a meet if you start on a relay versus an individual?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing if it's something that you could use to your advantage. Kind of have that extra energy of a relay. Obviously that kind of first final. I think it's good having it there. because there's just things that you can obviously improve on for the individual from that point. So I think it's a good spot for it.
Um, were there, or did you have takeaways from those first couple relay swims, and how did you feel about that relay
Mhm.
overall? Knowing that that relay in particular, I think is has been on the rise for Canada.
Yeah, yeah. I think like obviously it wasn't a perfect relay. I could have done better. I think as a team we definitely could have done better. But I mean we're honestly other than Yuri, we're pretty young squad. So I feel like there's just things like obviously me personally, there's also like there were things that I was looking to improve on from that relay and yeah, just in general to get into the meet, but definitely I wouldn't say it was disappointing. Like it's always tough in that it's just getting faster at this point, especially the 100 free just in general is getting faster. So I mean, we're just gonna have to step our game up to be able to compete.
I mean, what the 100 free at this meet specifically got a lot faster, right?
Yeah.
What did you make of, I guess, just the 100 free event in Paris
Mhm.
overall? I mean, 46:40 seems like a big step forward in terms of men's sprinting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a huge step forward and it's something that I feel like everyone in that event we have to maybe try to approach it a different way and approach our training a different way. I mean, you've seen like interviews like Kyle talking about maybe approaching like everyone's talking about that the bar has definitely moved and we got to figure something out because obviously Pan's figured something out in the way that he swims it. So I mean, even now already, I'm obviously working on my freestyle technique because it's definitely something I think I need to work on. I think I'm obviously technically better in fly than freestyle because my endurance is there. I can have a pretty good back half in the 100 fly, not so much in the 100 free. So just technique is what I'm working on right now. But yeah, I mean that event's moved pretty far, so it's time to go back to the drawing board and see what we can do.
That's interesting
Mm,
to hear. What do you feel like your areas of improvement are technically in freestyle? Is it different for
mm.
short course and long course?
I think for short course, I don't think I really need to change much in my stroke. I think my stroke kind of suits short course more.
Hmm.
But yeah, just in terms of just kind of just holding water, making sure my stroke doesn't get too wonky because it can definitely happen a lot, especially long course 100 free. So that's just I've been working on the catch stuff like that. Um, and obviously, yeah, just improving like in general, but kind of starting fundamentally first on the technique, and then improving from there. Obviously, working hard and trying to get faster in that event.
For someone who has competed in the 50, the 100 free, and then the 100 fly internationally for several years in a row now, at major international competitions,
Mhm.
how do you view those events in terms of, do you see them all equally for yourself? Do you put an equal amount of stock into the performances of them? It's like, do you have a
Mhm.
favorite? Because I'm curious. It seems like summer to summer, I don't know. Do you feel like you were better in one than the other? Because it seems like
Mhm.
they kind of vary from year to year.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, at one point, my 100 free. I mean, my 100 free was probably at the one of the top ones, and then obviously the 100 fly has been the best. Like recently, for sure. I think probably leading up to the Olympics, the focus was more on the 100 fly. Um, but in terms of the 50 free, I've improved on. So I mean, I moved to a straight arm stroke. I think it was kind of January of my freshman year. Like a more straight arm. I was really bent arm in the 50 free, and now I'm kind of starting to see that kind of get better, and I'm more comfortable with it. Last year in Fukuoka, I still wasn't comfortable with that stroke long course. Um, But I feel like this year I kind of made a step forward, and yeah, now it's just trying to improve. Now that I have it, I feel like I kind of have it down, and I'm able to. It's just more comfortable for me. So definitely made a lot of changes, more so in freestyle. So I think now it's just kind of getting like a set, set technique that I do, and just from there improving now.
So, uh, what did having a little bit more of a focus on the 100 fly
Mhm.
going into Paris look like for you? How does that manifest itself in training or just mentality?
Yeah, a lot of the main sets they would have me go fly. So a lot of the race speed stuff, have me go fly, and I was focusing on things like stroke count, kind of really just trying to manage how I swim the first 50, swim the second 50, certain things like the turn. There's definitely more focus on that. Obviously, still a focus on freestyle, working on my technique and stuff, but um, yeah, I could kind of tell that the focus was obviously more the 100 fly because that was my best shot, at least best shot on paper for sure. Um, at this meet at the Olympics, yeah.
So then, with that in mind,
Mhm.
after your result in the 100 freestyle,
Mhm.
what was moving on from that event looking like for you, knowing that okay, my focus is a little bit more on my next event, the 100 fly.
Yeah, I thought that I could have been a little more dialed in for the 100 free and just kind of I definitely thought personally that I should have been better in that event, but at the same time for me it was just all right, I have to take the next step and kind of move forward with it. Once I didn't make it in that final and just kind of see what I can do in the other events. I had the 50 free coming up, and the focus just kind of shift from there at that point because there's nothing I could do to change it in that moment. So yeah, it was just kind of big focus shift. The 50 free 100 fly, I'm pretty comfortable with that double, I would say at this point. So it was just being able to obviously manage that the best that I can because it could still be difficult, especially if you don't manage it well with rest and recovery. So yeah.
Yeah. And then in terms of how do you feel like you were able to manage that double when it finally came the time?
Yeah, I thought I was a little bit sluggish, especially in the prelims of the 50 free. Got better in the semi, and then got scratched in, and then obviously it's what I trained for. So immediately I was like, well, we're gonna do it. 50 free. I mean, it's an Olympic final, so I mean anything can happen. So there was never really once I got scratched in, there was never really a doubt in my mind that I was gonna swim it or scratch it. I knew that I was swimming it. And yeah, just from there, obviously the 100 fly prelim. I think for sure I'm a little more comfortable in that event in terms of how I can swim the prelim and the semi. I feel like personally I have more room to be able to kind of manage my energy a little bit better in that event. So yeah, and just from there, it was just kind of trying to see what I could do in the final and then take it from there.
That 50 free final was incredibly tight. Uh,
Yeah.
for, I did I mean obviously it's just a 50, it's such a quick race. Did you
Mhm.
have any wherewithal about what was happening during that race, or were you just kind of doing your thing and then you saw the results later?
I was doing my thing, but then I could kind of tell coming into the wall, maybe at the 15 left, I could tell like I was having a good race. So just in my head, I was just like trying to execute, just making sure I held my stroke, making sure that I did everything right leading up to the wall, hit my finish. Because I knew I was having a good race. Obviously, you never know because couldn't really see past. I think it was the guy from Greece was right next to me. I couldn't really see past him. Um, and I hit the wall and I looked up and I was like, I was this close. But I mean, at that point, it was just it was just fun for me because I wasn't even in the final originally. So to be able to to be that far from bronze with everything that I've kind of done and changed up in that event was still a big accomplishment for me. But yeah, it does suck for it to be that close. But then I looked at the rest, and it was like I basically outtouched everyone else. So it was just everyone was in the same boat. Honestly, we were all really close to a medal. So yeah, it was super tight. I talked to Jordan after and Caleb because I mean it was a super tight race, and that's how the 50 free is. It's just it goes like in an instant. But yeah, that was a really cool final. It was loud too because when Manadu got the crowd hype, that was nuts. But no, I mean I enjoyed it for sure. It was really fun.
I've talked to a few different people who were in that final.
Hmm.
Like I know Cam it spoke on Manadu doing the getting the crowd
Yeah.
into it, and then Ben, who ended up winning silver, was like, "I'm so in my zone during a race, I didn't even know that happened." And then
Wow.
like much later, someone was like, "What was that like?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" But so you noticed
Yeah, yeah.
when that was happening behind the blocks.
Yeah, I mean it was awesome. I definitely noticed for sure. But it was just cool. It was just like I feel like more fuel. Having a crowd there, obviously after Tokyo where there was no one, being able to have that crowd and feed off that energy was awesome. And I thought that Manu did a good job of kind of using that energy from the crowd. So kudos to him.
I'm also I've talked to a few different athletes about this, and it makes me happy as someone who gets to cover these athletes that I think this is becoming a bigger emphasis, but just celebrating the smaller victories. You know, at the
Mhm.
Olympics, it's so much gets made out of winning medals and topping the podium or getting on
Mhm.
the podium, and but you know, making an Olympic final is a big deal, and getting a fourth or fifth place is a big deal. And, you know, going a best time, even though that is so rare at an
Yeah.
Olympics, like that's a big deal. And I feel like those accomplishments can get lost in the shuffle. Is
Mhm.
that something that you've focused on as an athlete, or you have put any kind of emphasis on in the last couple years as you've ascended to you know to the world stage, or do you feel like that's something that maybe comes a little more naturally for you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? What would come more naturally? The
Celebrating smaller victories or
Yeah,
celebrating personal victories.
yeah, I think that's just a part of like growth. I mean, I feel like as every athlete, especially the competitive ones, I feel like myself, it's really easy to look back at a race and just look at the things you need to improve on. It's just I feel like it's natural for a lot of people, but at the same time, to be able to improve, you have to feel like you have to make mistakes and you have to learn from those. So yeah, I feel like maybe it does come more natural to me because at the same time, I'm kind of looking, obviously, how can I learn and be better? What can I do better? But I'm also looking at the things that I've improved on from, from the last time, which is kind of shows that that I'm able to improve, gives me more confidence to, improve on the things that I maybe didn't do so well on. So yeah, I think that I would say that comes more natural to me. More after the fact, I feel like right when it happens, I'm always thinking of what I did wrong or what I could have done better. But I think I'm pretty good at taking a step back and kind of realizing that it's a good accomplishment while still, wanting to improve and looking at the next step.
So I spoke with Ilya Kharun, your Canadian teammate,
Yeah,
and
funny dude.
funny guy, yeah.
Yeah. Did he
And
talk much?
yeah,
He
he
give you one
did.
word
It
answer? He
was
did. There you go. It's pretty good.
it was absolutely his best interview yet.
Yeah.
That I've done with him. I was very impressed.
Hmm.
But you know, he said you guys were roommates,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Paris, and you know, he spoke about you guys talking. You both made the 100 fly final,
Yeah.
and you guys discussing like how cool would it be to both get on the podium in the
Hmm.
100 fly. And he's like, I don't know how I was serious. I don't know how serious Josh was. Like, I don't know if he really thought we could both make the podium. So I'm wondering what
No.
chance did you give both of you to make the podium in the 100 fly?
I mean, I think that dude. Ilya, I mean, he's a competitor, man. So there wasn't really like I knew there's always a possibility with him. He likes to compete, really competitive kid. Might not notice it by just talking to him in an interview, but extremely competitive, which is good. I think that's he has really good drive. So I mean, no, I mean, I was definitely serious that it could be a possibility, and he just got it done. Like he just knows how to do it, man. So yeah, he got the job done.
I mean, yeah, obviously he was already on a roll, winning bronze in the 200 fly
Mhm.
earlier in the meet. And then, yeah, I mean, you guys did
Yeah,
first time since I think 1976 that
yeah.
two Canadians were on a podium together.
Hmm.
But yeah, can you? So after that 50 free final, where you just miss out on a medal, can you take me
Hmm.
through that 100 fly final and where your headspace was and how you feel like the race went for you?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, the thought in my head was just use it as fuel. Like I was that close to a medal. I already know how it feels to miss out on a medal. So just get the job done, the 100 fly, and that was just kind of my mentality going into it. I still wanted to be smart, obviously, not swim the race crazy in the semi, but wanted to get a good lane, wanted to be in a good spot for the final. So yeah, I just kind of approached it. Um, it was really close actually. The 50 free, and it's probably the closest I've ever done. It felt super close by the time I was done with interviews, getting back and warming down. It was, time to go to the ready room already. So, yeah, it was probably the closest 50 free to 100 fly personally that I've ever done. And but yeah, I thought I was able to manage it well. I kind of stuck to my own race plan and stuck to my lane and just did what I need to do to get into that final.
And then just in terms of how the race went, I talked to Ilya about his breathing, which I think is
Mhm.
a little less planned than probably
Yeah.
yours might be. Uh,
He doesn't plan anything, man. He's just, I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna.
that's what he
Yeah,
said. He's like, I just go by feel.
yeah. Hey,
um,
man, it works. It works.
it works.
Mhm.
How did you plan that race out?
Um, so I knew I didn't need to kind of put my head down. I think I put it down last three strokes. In
Mhm.
terms of, I'm always one up, one down on breathing pattern. I don't really have to think about it anymore. Um, I wanted to hit my turn and I wanted to work the back half a little more. Because for me, that's just more comfortable way to swim it. But I still wanted to be kind of obviously in the fight. I didn't want to spin. I wanted to stay relaxed, and yeah, this kind of I thought I executed the semi swim pretty well in terms of what I wanted to do going in. Yeah.
And then just with the result, you're an historic time, an historic medal. How did you process all of it in the moment?
Um, I don't know. It was wild. Like at first, I didn't notice that Ilya like came third. But I hit the wall and I saw it. I knew I was really close to the lead, but I hit the wall, saw it, and I was like, "Oh, that was really close." And then I'm looking, and I see Ilya. I'm like, "Dude, what the heck? Ilya made it on." But it was super cool. Talked to Milak after. Obviously, he swam a really good race. He's stayed composed and he swam it really well. So hats off to him. He knows. I mean, he knows how to do it in big moments. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. Obviously, like I said, just missing out in the 50 free, being able to get it done, the 100 fly, goal, best time, get on their 50 finally. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and did getting under 50 for the first time, 49.9. Did that race feel any different? I mean, what's the secret to breaking the barrier? Because you had been 50.0,
Yeah.
but right before.
Hmm. I think obviously I went out a little bit faster, and I think I just hit my turn better.
Mm.
I was able to hit the turn. I was pretty happy with what I did. Probably took too many strokes on the first 50. This is me just nitpicking, but yeah, I was kind of happy with what I did on my turn. And then it was just trying to bring it home from there.
Yeah, and then yeah, once again, first time since the 70s, since
Mhm.
two Canadians had shared a podium. What was that like for you to share that moment with Ilya?
I mean, it was awesome. I remember just looking at him, and I've never seen him so happy. He's usually just like just straight face, doesn't really say much, but he was really happy to get that medal in the 100 fly. Because I mean, obviously he was gunning for it, but it kind of looked like when it happened, he was like he couldn't believe that it actually happened. So to see him that excited was pretty cool. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, and then just the aftermath of this all, of getting to, go home. Have you been able to process this or just kind of reflect on it and what it means for you to now be an Olympic medalist?
Yeah, I mean it's been great. It's been cool to kind of get back. Obviously, have all the support. Being back here now in Gainesville, it's awesome. And obviously now I kind of have that perspective and, still have the same kind of goal setting moving forward. But yeah, it was just kind of cool to have that experience, that I obviously went there and did a good job. Um, yeah, it definitely took a bit to process it for sure. Because I mean, at that point, everything goes so fast. You have it, then you have another race, and then the meet's done, then you have media, and then just a bunch of other stuff happening. So it was kind of good to be able to obviously take a break after and just kind of process it all.
Yeah. How long was your break? How long were you actually out of the water?
About a month, maybe exactly a month.
Hmm.
But then I kind of got back in with a team here, and we've started off honestly easing into it, which has been really nice. And then only now kind of really starting to pick it up. But yeah, I mean it's been good. I honestly like felt excited. I kind of wanted to get back in. Obviously after the Olympics, I felt super motivated to keep going. So I didn't really feel like it was. I feel like I had a good break and I was ready to keep going.
Nice. So
Mhm.
then now moving into this NCAA season, you're the defending champion in three individual events.
Yeah.
Obviously, I lost track, but Florida is the defending champion. At least one or two relays has the record, and maybe one or
Hmm.
two others.
Yeah.
I know it kind of flip flopped between you guys and ASU. I
Hmm.
mean, but you guys have taken that to new heights. Several relays to new heights, certainly.
Hmm.
Um, how how are you viewing this, especially in terms of goal setting or approach to the season mentally and emotionally, knowing that you've got a few targets on your back?
Yeah. I mean, there's targets on our back, but the guys are also talking about how some of these guys it's their last year and how good it would be. I mean, they're talking about how good it would be to win a national championship. That's where the mindset is, which I think is really good. But we got Adam back. I don't know if you remember in the ready room, but I was like, "Hey, if we get Adam back, we got him back." So I mean, it's great to have him. Obviously, Johnny's also really good, so they get to push each other. Um, but yeah, for some of these guys, it's kind of the last dance with this relay. So I mean, we're just gonna give it everything we got and see how fast we could go. I mean, if everyone can be on their best, I think we're a pretty fast team. So yeah, it's good. Freshmen also really good. So I feel like the morale of the team is pretty good and the goal setting is pretty high going into this season.
Is McGuire a senior this year also?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's his last season. Is
Yeah.
Adam is back for his fifth year.
Mhm.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, obviously two pretty big pieces in those relays.
Yeah.
In terms of NCAA's, men's NCAA's this year, I think is going to be one of the most exciting meets we've seen in a long time because
Yeah.
like you said, I think there's so many teams that are kind of have a shot to compete for a national
Mhm.
title. Having been to that meet before and kind of knowing what it's like and the environment it is, what do you think it will take, or what do you to win a national title in terms of poise and w- the mentality a team has to have?
Like you said, poise. That's a big one. And everyone has to do their job. Some guys probably have to do better than their job, have a surprise swim. that's just what it takes. It takes the whole team. It doesn't just take relays. It doesn't just take one person. Everyone has to be on, which is, I mean, it's pretty tough to do. That's why that meet is so crazy, and I think that's probably why it's so exciting as well. But yeah, I mean, we kind of know because we've been there. We've been kind of in the fight, and then we know how easily it can just things can just change. So I think just having that experience definitely makes us hungry. But at the same time, we kind of know we have to be cautious and obviously manage energy, that kind of stuff, and everyone has to be kind of on their game.
This is something I just remembered too.
Mm.
Texas is going to be at SECs,
Yeah,
which like that meet is already so wild. I mean,
yeah,
it's in a lot of ways bigger and crazier than NCAA's.
hmm
But then to add a team like Texas, I mean, I can't even imagine the energy and the firepower in terms of racing and depth that's going to add to SECs this year.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I mean, it's only gotten faster since I've come in. I don't think it's gonna get any slower. I think it's gonna keep getting faster. That's the kind of mindset that I have. It's going to be tough, obviously, but like I said, everyone has to do their part, and we have to get the job done, and try and keep it going with the SEC.
Uh, do you think you will be at Short Course Worlds, or do you think you're going to stay here and stick to the college season?
Yeah, I'll be staying. It's kind of right around exams, which kind of sucks. So
Mm.
I'll have a big exam right around that time. It'll just be better for maybe I could move it, but it would just be better just for taking it and stress of school. But yeah, so I won't be going to short course worlds. I want to do short course meters for sure, but that'll have to wait. I'm still young. I got time.
You've got time. It's
Yeah.
post-Olympic year,
Yeah.
there's time. Well, Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. It's been great catching up with you, and good luck moving into the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Swim Swam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take Swim Swam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.